Welcome back to another episode of ROC Boys football. Been a long day for the boys, watching multiple spring games today. Ton of monitors going on. Let's talk a little bit about this Georgia football spring game, G-Day, as they call it down in Athens. Returning national champions, losing a lot of players. I want to start with the offensive side of the ball because you have a little bit of a quarterback competition. At least that's the reports I've been reading. Stetson Bennett, Carson Beck, Brock Vandegrift. Dill, tell me about not just the quarterbacks, but the quarterbacks and some of the playmakers that caught your eye during today's spring game.
I know Stetson, they were rotating those quarterbacks heavily, so you didn't see a ton of Stetson.
All got work. All three of them got work with the first team.
But his first drive was really good. That ball he threw to the corner of the end zone, I know it was dropped, but, you got to think Brock Bowers comes up with that.
Oh, yeah.
And then he threw the strike to Eric Gilbert, and nice to see him play well
good
today. Because, you kind of – a guy who's kind of had a slow start to his college career just in general, but it seems to be getting on the right foot, and he'll add a ton to that offense, and they're going to need it because they're going to need to score a little more than they did last year.
That tight end room is disgusting. They have 4 tight ends between Brock Bowers, Darnell Washington, Eric Gilbert, and Oscar Delp, the true freshman. Those guys are all stud tight ends. But yeah, so the first thing I want to say is I don't think Stetson Bennett is anything he looked, like you said, he looked in control, in command, and that's obviously Stetson Bennett, probably a little less talented than Carson Beck and Brock Vandegrift in terms of throwing the ball. But the experience, the command, the leadership that he has, you saw it. You saw it during that first drive. I would be surprised if Stetson Bennett isn't quarterback one, week one against kicking off, just because he brought you a national championship. Now, the thing is, you're going to need to open the offense up a little bit more. It's no secret that this defense, losing a lot of talent, you're not going to be able to win another national championship playing as conservative as it is. So whether it's Stetson Bennett or Carson Beck or Brock Vandegrift, they're going to need to open it up a little bit more. I want to talk a little bit about some wide receivers that I thought stepped up. I want to talk early about Arien Smith, who's got burner track speed, and A.D. Mitchell. What else did you see about those wide receivers that you liked?
So A.D. Mitchell's a guy who he played really good football last year, I thought.
Yes.
So he's probably going to need to be the leader of that team.
Yep.
Yeah, of course, Arien Smith had the deep ball catch, the catch across the middle. He had some good moments, and in Ladd McConkey, I don't think you saw a ton of him today, but a guy is just going to be really solid in the slot and do his thing. So I think A.D. Mitchell, though, is probably going to have to be the guy to lead that. And he's got the talent. I think he played well last year, continues to make his strides. He should be really good for Georgia.
And that's the story. I mean, you look through this whole depth chart. All these guys are former top 100, top 150 recruits, really talented guys. Arien Smith, A.D. Mitchell, Karis Jackson. Dominic Blaylock's been a guy that just 2 ACL surgeries on the same knee, I believe, hasn't been able to stay healthy. But it looks like all these guys are staying healthy, hopefully hitting their stride in summer and August and into the season. There's a lot of guys that could step up. That was my biggest concern. Not concern, but question. Which one of them is going to step up? Karis Jackson, A.D. Mitchell. Arien Smith, I think, can really provide some explosive plays for this team. He's got some legit speed. But that's something that I think a lot of Georgia fans should be keeping an eye on is which of these wide receivers, and it might just be the tight ends. You know what I mean? It might just be Brock Bowers and Eric Gilbert that really bring the noise for this pass catching unit.
And Darnell Washington, the guy. Don't forget about my guy. Yeah, he's good.
I don't even is he gonna get phased out? He's good. He's big.
It will be. I mean, the thing is he's probably gonna play the true tight end spot more than the other two.
Yeah.
Because the other two you can play at wide out.
Play anywhere.
Gilbert and Bowers can play both spots, and I think they're going to be on the edge a little more.
If you see Gilbert get back to his potential, that's going to be gross. Him and Brock Bowers.
Yeah, for sure. Deal with that. Because you saw the flashes and a pretty good year his freshman year at LSU, and then if he can kind of put that form together and look that good again,
build on it,
and that'll help Georgia so much because they need playmakers. Of course, they really haven't had a ton in the past years compared to the Bamas or the Clemsons or LSU when they're good.
Yep. Offensive line I thought looked awesome. I think their first team is really, really strong. Broderick Jones, Xavier Truss.
He's going to be a high pick.
Devin Willick. And Morgan McClendon was a guy that is going in the draft if he declares. He would be a day 3 pick. Decides to come back. Broderick Jones is going to be a stud on the left. And as a result, Amarius Mims, a former top 10 recruit, transfers out just because he can't get playing time at tackle. But this team is deep, and they have a bunch of guys at the 2 deep. Tate Rackledge, Warren Erickson. Like, they have a bunch of guys who are really, really good. I'm interested to see what that final 5 group pairing is going to be. It's going to be good, though. Whoever it's going to be, it's going to be good. And before we move on to the defense, I just want to mention the running backs because it's a good room. McIntosh and Milton, Kenny McIntosh, Kendall Milton are both going to be studs. Kind of waited their turn behind James Cook, Zamir White.
McIntosh looked good today. I thought,
yes,
like, really good.
Yeah, it's their time. It's going to be their backfield, and I'm excited to see how they use kind of a little bit more.
You got to wonder about Branson Robinson. The guy's got the body at least to look like he can play right away. Robinson. So we'll see if he can get in.
Yeah, absolute sicko mode from him. And then we'll quickly touch on the defense. And besides saying that this defense is just losing an extraordinary amount of talent, but they are very talented. They're just young. A couple of guys we obviously have to mention. Jalen Carter is probably going to be a top 10 pick in next year's NFL draft. Guys I want to see a little bit more of, Zion Logue, Robert Beal. I don't think played today, but I think he's going to be a guy that impressed me in some reps. Obviously, Nolan Smith, kind of the leader of that defense. And then Keely Ringo. You got 3 guys who are probably going to be first-round picks next year, and Nolan Smith, Ringo, and Carter. But then who's going to step up? I think the biggest position that have question marks about is that linebacker unit.
Because they were running 3 pros last year, and nobody else was getting a shot.
And nobody was getting reps besides those guys. It was Tyndall.
But Marshall Tresman had a couple nice plays today, so maybe he can work his way into being more of a factor.
We'll see. We'll see who ends up emerging. There's not. All I'll say is I trust Kirby Smart to get the best group out on the field. Guys I'm excited about, Taiki Smith, though. Obviously a former All-American from West Virginia, transferred in last year, tore his ACL, couldn't play. He's a guy that hopefully will be back in the fall, a guy that will provide a lot of from that star position at Georgia.
It's going to be tough to unseat William Poole, though, because he put together a really, really good season last year. He's really good, I thought, especially in the title game.
Yeah, it's very good, dude. You look at when I was doing prep for the spring game and looking back at how they recruit, it's disgusting.
I have no doubts you're going to see some true freshmen playing too.
So. Yes, Mikael Williams, he's a freak.
He can work their way in.
You're going to see some guys kind of work their way in. Yeah, that's a review on the Georgia spring game. Again, not as much to say. It's hard to evaluate. They got a lot of newcomers. They were cycling in a lot of different players. My head was spinning trying to keep up with all the players. But appreciate you guys checking us out. If you guys like the content, subscribe, like the video. We're pumping out spring videos, NFL draft stuff pretty routinely. So we appreciate you guys' support. We'll be back with some more content later on. Appreciate y'all. Peace.